My scripture reading taken from the book of St. Matthew's, 21st chapter, the 17th through the 22nd verse. And he left them, meaning Jesus, and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there. Now in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it and found nothing thereon, but leaves only, and said unto it, Let no fruit grow on thee henceforward forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. When his disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How soon is the fig tree withered away? Jesus answered and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, ye shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if ye shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and thou be cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. And thus is the scripture reading of Matthew's, the 21st chapter, 17th through the 22nd verse. Again, I say unto you, good morning and blessing. Now, the story of the fig tree, and I might have shared this with you all, and I know I've spoken several times on this scripture and the experience that I myself experienced in the past. But the meat of this story is, as Jesus said, have faith and doubt not. You see, those two things, uh, they can't come together, or they can't coalesce in one place, one consciousness. You're either going to have faith or you're going to doubt. And so when you have doubt, then you lack in your demonstration. You can't bring forth the power that is within you because you don't believe. And how we look at ourselves as just little, as some will say, puny human beings, not capable of demonstrating the power of the Spirit that is within us. There are those that I have worked with in the past that have said unto me, there is no way that I have this power within me. Well, right there, when you say there's no way, there's the doubt. And the doubt neutralizes everything that you want to do because you don't believe that you can do it. But here in the scripture, Jesus is saying, if you have faith and doubt not, this demonstration of withering the fig tree so can you do also. Now we get on this spiritual path, and some come for a whole lot of reasons. But the one reason that we should come on this path, be on this path, is to awaken that Christ consciousness within us. Because it is within each and every one of us. And when we do all that we can to awaken this Christ consciousness within us, internalizing and realizing the power, then we must go forth and demonstrate the power, as I always say, of I am. If we're sitting around waiting for something to happen, for something to fall out of the sky and hit us on the head and wake us up, you can forget it. Because if something truly fell out of the sky and hit you on your head, it might take you out of here. So you want to be awakened from within. That is why the scripture states, be still and listen to the still small voice within. Be still and know that I am the God within you. Comes right back to I am. And you can claim it. You can profess it. And you can speak it with authority. Now, I don't suggest that you go out and stand on the street corners and start to shooting and start to shouting that I am God, because folks are going to come by and look at you and, well, they might think something is wrong. Who is that person standing on the corner shouting that they are God? Well, if one reads scripture and truly understands scripture, what scripture is saying, then one would know exactly what one is. But we don't take the time. And the other thing that we do is we listen to what other people are saying, and that we accept what they are saying, as opposed to going in and doing the work ourselves. You know, it's like going to work on a job. You can't have someone go to a job and do your work and then you expect to get paid for it. It's not going to happen. And so it is with life. You have to do what it is that you need to do or have to do in order to be compensated. You don't get something for nothing. And your spiritual growth and unfoldment doesn't fall down from the sky. And the other thing that you have to know and understand is just by reading scripture doesn't make you spiritual. You have to follow the instructions. You have to develop the faith that what scripture is saying or what scripture is imparting is the very essence and the very truth of what you are. Now bring forth the demonstration. And as Jesus was saying to his disciples, all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer and believing, ye shall receive. See, there's the key right there. You got to do something in order to have something. You've got to do something in order to be something or someone. So you have to do your work. It's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. And I just want to also add this. We get caught up in thinking that we belong to a certain church or a certain religion, that's going to make us eligible for the kingdom. It's not. What's going to make you eligible for the kingdom is that you have to go within and open the doors that are within you. We have to do the work in order to receive the rewards. We have to do the work in order to receive the rewards. If you're not willing to do the work, then don't expect your prayers to be answered. See, God answers prayer, but if we don't pray with faith and with believing or with belief, we're wasting our time. Life will come and go. We'll be sitting somewhere wishing. I've shared this with you before, and I'll share it with you again. As a young child coming up in a poverty-stricken environment, I had a habit of saying to my mother, I wish I had this. I wish I had that. I wish I had this. My mother used to say to me, she said, "She-IT in one hand." She said, wish in one hand and She-IT in the other hand, see which one gets filled up the fastest. And that used to just do something to me. Wish in one hand and She-IT in the other, and see which one gets filled up the fastest. My mother didn't believe. She did not believe. But that didn't stop me from believing. Sometimes, we told we got to listen to our parents because our parents knows what's right, what's good for us. But there's a whole lot of times that I didn't listen to my mother. And my mother used to say to me, boy, your head is just as hard as a brick. Nothing is getting through that hard head of yours. Yes, it was. There was a whole lot getting through my head. But it was not the things that my mother was saying to me. Because my mother, she didn't believe. She didn't have no faith. God was non-existent to her. But still, she was my mother. And I did the very best that I could do to respect my mother. But when my mother said to me things that I didn't feel comfortable with, it didn't resonate as truth with me. I didn't listen. I did not listen. And that's why it says in the scripture, be still and listen to the still small voice within you. I was listening to what I heard within myself, not to what my mother was saying. But God bless her soul. She did the best that she could do. with what she knew. And so I want to come back and just tell you that there are times when people will say things to us, we have to be able to let it go in one ear and out the other. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't let people influence you to do or to be something that you know is against what you feel within yourself. Don't be influenced by the outside chatter. Listen to the voice of truth that is within you. And God is always speaking to us. We get so caught up in the things of the outer world, we get so busy that we don't have time to listen. We listen to everything that's going on out in the world, all the gossip and the chatter and every this and that and all whatever. But we don't take the time to listen to the source that is responsible for all that we are. We don't take the time to listen to what's being said within us. And as a child, you're raising children and your mother tells you don't do this and don't do that. When you don't listen, you get into trouble. And then she did not tell you not to do that, and you went on and did it anyhow. I remember as a child, we as children used to take safety pins. And one of the worst things to do if you want to really do yourself in, we used to take safety pins and try to stick them in the wall socket. Now you're really asking to be executed. And I remember one time my mother caught one of my sisters trying to stick a pin in the wall socket. My mother got a switch. And see, switches back then, them days wasn't no little thin things. They was like branches. And my mother whipped everything in the house. Don't ever let me catch you or see you sticking anything in one of those wall sockets. And children are exploratory. They'll try anything. And so it's like when we don't listen to that voice within us, telling us that this is the way that you should go and this is not the way. Follow this light and not this dimly shadow. But when we don't listen to what is being said within us, a lot of times we end up on a dead end road. We experience a lot of trials and tribulations. Not that they can be avoided sometimes, or a lot of times they are for our own growth and unfoldment. But if we don't know how to navigate, if we don't know how to get around those potholes in life, we're always going to end up with a broken down vehicle, the self. So we'd have to learn how to be still and meditate. And folks say, I can't meditate. You can do anything that you want to do if you put your mind to it. Well, I try to meditate, but I keep getting all these thoughts coming in and out of my head, thinking this and thinking that. And well, that is because you have allowed the mind to control you, to dictate to what you should do. You have not learned to master your mind. Your mind is to serve you, and you not serve it. And you hear so many times, like, why did you do that? Well, my mind told me to do it. You listening to your mind? You had to start listening to your heart, because your mind will mislead you. And the reason why a lot of people can't take the time or be still to sit and meditate, because there's something about this ego mind that has been in control for so long. It will fight before it will surrender itself to your will. We've allowed the mind to run rampant for so long. It has now become such a thing that we can't control it. And we act according to the messages or the impulses that the mind sends to us. So we have to increase our faith and not have doubt, saying that I can't, I don't believe. Well, you woke up this morning. Did you look in the mirror this morning and look at yourself? Do you believe that it's you that you looked at and saw this morning in the mirror? Do you believe that you are a living being right now? Well, of course you do. Because you see it. You can feel it. You have no doubt. Turn within and trust. Have faith. The very essence of what you are is greater than any and all things of the outer world. Did not Jesus say the kingdom is within you? If the kingdom be within you, then where is God? And if God be within you, what does that make you? One with the source that we call God. And if God is within you, then all power that is of God is also within you. When we look to the world for power, or that which other people seem to demonstrate, be not fooled. That's not real power. But because we see and think that by the demonstrations that they are bringing forth that it's real power, no, it's not. There isn't but one power, and that's God. And that God power resides in each and every one of us. And it is greater than anything in and of the world. Greater than any man, woman, or child. Oh, but oh, how we bow down to those of the world that seem to have power. You're giving up the very truth of what you are. You're saying that someone has power over you. Someone is greater than you. When you think and feel these things about the outer world, you're saying that the people and the things of the outer world are greater than the God within you. And you're setting yourself up for the big let down. Excuse me. Now, I said I wanted to share something with you in reference to the fig tree. And I've shared this many times, this experience many times over. And I will share it again this day and who knows how many other times in the future, because I want you to understand that there's a power within you that when you bring it forth, it can do anything that you ask of it, as long as you have faith and doubt not. And I don't think there are many things that have taken place in my life that have solidified my faith, trust in God, in that divine presence within me. Many, many, many years ago, as a young child, my grandparents had a fig tree in their backyard. Now, my grandparents were, as they say, from the deep south. And when they moved here, I don't know how they got a fig tree. Apparently, they brought the seeds with them. But they planted a fig tree in the backyard. And so all of the grandkids and children during the summertime would come and eat of the figs. But Papa, the grandfather, we all called him Papa, Papa had a 22 rifle. And the one thing he didn't play was to have kids climbing up in his fig tree. And when Papa would realize or hear that we were out there up in the fig tree, he would come out in the backyard with his 22 rifle and shoot up in the air, scare all the kids. And Papa used to say, all the figs on the ground, pick them up, you can have those. But you don't get up in that tree and break the limbs on that fig tree. So we learned to know, came to know that you didn't climb up in Papa's fig tree. My uncle, one of my grandfather's sons, lived next door to where my grandparents lived, next door to his mother and father. After my grandparents passed on, there was one other member that took over the home. So many years after that, because I had moved north, went back to visit my uncle that lived next door to where my grandparents lived. And as I was sitting up on his back porch, we were having a cold beer, summertime, in June, as I recall. I happened to look over in my grandparents' yard, and the fig tree was bare. There were no leaves, no figs, no nothing on the tree. And I asked my uncle, I said, what happened to the fig tree? He said, died. And I said, how long has the fig tree been dead? He said, oh, it's been dead a couple of years. And then I remembered the scripture. And I said to my uncle, I'm going down here and I'm going to pray for this fig tree. He looked at him, he laughed. He said, the fig tree is dead. You can pray all you want to pray. I said, but that tree is dead. I didn't accept what he said. So I went down. See, that fig tree had fed me so many years. Went down, went over into my grandparents' yard. I put my hands on that fig tree and I prayed. And I visualized and saw the fruits. And I gave thanks to the fig tree for the many years that it had fed me figs. So I went on back up to my uncle. We finished our beer. That was the end of that. The month of August, I went back down to visit my uncle. And always when I went, I had a six-pack of beer, sitting up on his back porch, drinking beer. And I happened to look over in my grandmother's yard. And there, this big, beautiful tree, all full of leaves and everything. And I said to my uncle, you see that fig tree? Had he been there, hadn't even noticed that the leaves had come out, didn't even notice that there were figs on the tree. And he looked over there, he said, what? And I said, you mean to tell me you've been right here next door to this fig tree and you haven't even seen the growth? And he looked at me and he said, boy, something wrong with you. I said, nothing wrong with me. I said, God has brought the fig tree back to life. And I went over there and there were sweet figs on the tree. It was confirmation. What the power of prayer and the faith can do for you. What God can do in you and through you when you believe and have the faith. So I went back up to my uncle and I looked at him. I said, God has brought the fig tree back to life. And he looked at me. He said, boy, I don't know about you. He said, something wrong with you. I said, there's nothing wrong with me. I said, something wrong with you because you don't believe. Well, that was the end of that. But it also confirmed within me the power of prayer and having faith. It was a demonstration. And it strengthened my faith. And I've said to people, and I've said to myself all the time, I'm at a point in my life that there is no doubt about the power of God. You see, when you have demonstration, then you can believe. Your faith is strengthened. You have a foundation that you can stand on. And know that you're standing on solid ground. That there is something that's working in you and through you that is greater than any and all things of the world. What Jesus said. All things whatsoever ye ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive it. It has to come forth. It has to come forth. It has to manifest. The power of God has to manifest in you and through you when you have faith and call it forth. And doubt not. You see, if people just rid themselves of doubt, they could live a much more prosperous and successful life, a life full of abundance. Nothing can be denied when you have faith and believe. Nothing. And I'm a living witness to that. You hear me say, I have said in the past, as I say, I was born in a very poor environment. Many nights, weeks, and months cried myself to sleep because of no food. But there was always something within me saying, it's all right. And people say, well, I'm down at the bottom of the barrel. I would tell folks that not only have I been at the bottom of the barrel, but I've been underneath the barrel in a hole in the ground with the barrel on top. Now, you know, that takes some climbing. And there's an old song that I said, used to listen to, coming up on the rough side of the mountain. Lord, I'm coming up on the rough side of the mountain, but I'm climbing. Never stop climbing. There's only two ways in life. You either go up or you go down. And you, as children of God, spiritual beings, you have to make that decision. Do you want to go up or do you want to go down? Up is the way. Up is the way to experience the allness and the wholeness of that God consciousness within you. It is the power. And so I say to you this day, as I've always said and continue to say, have faith, trust in the power of God within you. Stop looking outside of yourself for God. Stop looking outside of yourself for your good. Stop looking outside of yourself for life, for it's all right there within you. Has always been and will always be. This day, as you move forward, give thanks for the spirit and the consciousness and the power of God that is within you. God bless. Namaste.